Pistons with an absolutely dominant win over the Lakers, making us 3-2 on our West Coast road trip. Hey Pistons fans, welcome back to another episode of Pistons Daily, your go-to podcast for daily Detroit Pistons content, game recaps, Coach T's keys, trade rumors, and real conversations about what's happening with our team. I'm your host, Tony Nash, aka Coach T, and if you love the Detroit Pistons, you've come to the right place. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, give us a 5-star review. You can find this podcast anywhere that a podcast can be found, and we appreciate all of the support. Now, we got a lot to get into tonight. We're going to talk about today we're going to talk about the win. We're going to talk about the refs. We're going to talk about the MVP ladder and the newest rankings there from ESPN, and we're going to talk about Tobias. So let's get right into it here. First things first, let's talk about last night's win against the Lakers. A great bounce-back win for our team. I said, listen, there was nothing to be worried about. I know, man, it was amazing to me in the comments of the podcast, as well as in the comments of all the different groups that I'm in, the Pistons fan groups, how many people are just ready to throw the whole thing out. Fire everybody. Fire everyone but Cade. Fire the coach. Trade this guy. Trade that guy. And I got to think that people that are doing that are just not really watching the games. They're looking at the box scores. They're watching highlights. But if you're watching the games, you realize that, yeah, the game against the Clippers was bad, but we came up against a buzzsaw with Kawhi Leonard. That doesn't happen often. The loss against the Jazz was a tough one. That one was hard to swallow. We always have a hard time in Utah. But Utah's beat some good teams this year. And so, yeah, we had a couple losses in a row, but it's nothing to be overly concerned about. Do we need to make changes? Will there need to be some moves made? We've talked about this over and over, yes. But to me, nothing worth panicking over. And so I get a little frustrated when I see fans just completely throwing the team under the bus, throwing the coaches under the bus. It's one thing to point out areas where we need to grow. It's one thing to point out areas where we can improve, and even critiquing the coaches and players. But to just completely be ready to be done with them after a couple of bad games is really, really tough. But last night's game against the Lakers was really, really good. Overall, a great win for us. We are now 8-3 against Western Conference teams. And really, 2 of those losses were just by 2 points. The one to Dallas, we lost by 2 in overtime. The one by Utah, we lost by 2. We had a chance to win both of them. So, right there, I think we're competing really well against Western Conference teams. Obviously, we haven't seen the Thunder yet. We haven't seen the Spurs yet. We haven't seen the Nuggets yet. So there's still a lot to be told. But we're going to have some big tests coming up here over the next couple of weeks. We got some big games coming up. Most notably, the game coming up on Monday night against the New York Knicks to see how we're stacking up against them in a head-to-head matchup. So to me, I think the team, they looked great tonight. Sasser was the story of the game. We'll talk about him in a little bit. I just don't think that it's as bad as a lot of people are making it sound. I know it's not as bad as a lot of people are making it sound, and I think there's a whole lot to be positive about with this team. 25-8 record at this point in the season, ending off 2025 with a win. I think an absolutely great way to go. So I'm happy with our team. I'm excited about our team. We can't be up and down. Listen, over the course of the next 50 games or so, we're going to lose again. We're going to have some losses. We're going to have some disappointing losses. We're going to lose games that we should have won. It's a long season. We got to be patient and continue to point out the right things throughout. Tonight we shot 63% from the field. So that's one of our better shooting performances, and 46% from 3. So definitely one of our better three-point shooting percentage games. And, minus the Clippers game, we've actually been shooting a much better from 3 over the last 5 to 7 games. And so still have some areas to grow there in the three-point shooting world, but things are starting to improve. For sure. We had 13 players see the court tonight. Obviously, a couple of them were garbage time. We saw Dennis Jenkins hit the court at the end there, along with we had a Chaz sighting, but those were kind of the garbage minutes. But 12 guys scored. We had 5 players in double digits, but we had several guys with 7, 8, and 9. And so just a great overall team effort. It's really hard to guard a team that's really balanced in their scoring like that. So overall, that was good. Cade with just another great performance, just steady throughout, 27 and 11, really just controlled the game. He showed out for a nationally televised game, which I love. Him and Luka were kind of going back and forth. But Cade he's the floor general, right? He's leading the team. Just a really good game tonight. Had some great takes, great shooting percentage from the field. I wanted to look at here. Cade was 12 for 19, so really, really good night for him. And, one of his better games as of late. Of course, he plays good almost every night. Stu with 15 points, but he shot 100% from the field tonight. So Stu had a great game, and I thought we could have played him a little bit more. Obviously, with Tobias out, he got a few more minutes, but Stu had a good game tonight. JD with 14, Ron with 11, Jaden Ivey had 17 minutes tonight, but he was 9 points on 4 for 5 shooting, 1 for 1 from 3. So Ivey's getting better and better. He had a few moments where he looked a little, out of control, but overall, Ivey had a great game and is looking better and better. And I think Duncan Robinson has maybe fallen off a little bit, has just not been shooting as well lately. But I think all shooters go through slumps, so I'm not worried about Duncan Robinson. But he's obviously not getting as many minutes either, so I'm sure that's affecting it as well. But then, like I said, Sasser tonight finally saw some extended minutes. Came in right in the first quarter, and I was kind of like, what's going on here? It looked like we determined we were going to rotate him over Dennis Jenkins tonight. And, man, it seemed like the right decision. I mean, he had 19 points on 5 for 8 shooting. He hit 3 threes. Just played under control, had some real nice passes, had a few good steals. And, this is one of those things with Sasser. I mean, he is instant offense, right? He can come in and really just get cooking. And if he could do that consistently, he could solve a lot of the problems. I saw a lot of you saying in the comments that we don't need three-point shooting. We just need to give Sasser more minutes. And maybe that's the case. I don't want to get overly hyped about one game. But if Sasser can play like that or in that realm, he could be a great player off the bench. And having him and Dennis as both an option would be great. But, tonight the story of the game, I think, really, outside of Sasser having a great game, was our defense. Defense was great, especially in the second half. We held the Lakers to 41 points in the second half. First 2 quarters we were neck and neck. I think we went into the halftime with 5. We had some sloppy play at the end of the second quarter. Cade got that technical, and then we ended up going in with 5. But kind of a little bit close there at the beginning of the third, but then we just started to pull away, and really our defense just clamped down. And what I loved seeing is even in the last 3 or 4 minutes when we were killing the Lakers by 25, I think, our guys were still just locked in and playing defense. And I said yesterday that this game was going to be an identity check, and I think we passed the check. Our identity is our defense. We played defense first tonight, and we played fast. We had over 70 points in the paint, and so we played a true Detroit Pistons style of basketball. It was great for me, for the national audience, to get to see what this team can do, and if we live up to the hype. The reason I like those games is because a lot of people don't really, especially if they're out of market, they're not watching the Pistons. They're following along. They're seeing what they're doing. They may be watching when they play their team, but they're not watching a lot of Pistons games. And to see them perform well at that big stage is really good for our team. And so I liked seeing that tonight. We played really, really well under the big lights in Los Angeles at Crypto Arena, and so that was really cool. Luka tonight, Luka's, he's a great offensive player, 30 and 11. Defense is just terrible. I mean, Luka, there was that one offensive foul, or that one flagrant foul that got called on JD, where even Reggie Miller pointed out that he didn't even take a half a step towards to help. There was another time where Sasser stole the ball, and Luka just kind of jogged back, and Sasser sprinted down, caught the ball, and then passed it to Stewart for the dunk. I mean, that's got to be so frustrating for a coach to have such an amazing player like Luka, who, is just an incredible scorer, just a wizard with the ball, so crafty, and yet will not commit to playing hard defense. And then you got a guy like LeBron, who's 41. Yesterday was his birthday, and he was 6 for 17 from the field, 17 points. He actually had a pretty decent first half, terrible in the second half. and I don't even know that he scored in the second half, and missed some shots badly, turned the ball over, and you just realize, like, okay, Father Time is undefeated, and it's catching up with LeBron. And like I said before, like I've been up and down with my LeBron fandom. I root for him as the old guy, but he just did not look good tonight. A lot of it had to do with our stifling defense, but LeBron's not playing D either. So the Lakers defense just wasn't there, but we held them to 106. And so that's a good defensive effort for us, and overall a good game. And so we end the year on a win, on a positive note. Great year of 2025 so far, 25-8. We got the Heat on New Year's Day. I'll be at the game, so hopefully I will see some of you there. And let me know your thoughts about the game against the Lakers. There is something that I do want to point out, and I know I've had a lot to say about the refs on the podcast, and I will continue to do that. And I think, NBA officiating as a whole could be much better. Tonight, I think the reffing was fine. There were some bad calls, but you're going to expect bad calls in the game. I didn't feel like it was one-sided tonight, so that was nice to see. It kind of went both ways. Early on, Luka and LeBron were both getting some really just quick whistles, and I thought, oh boy, we're gonna go all night. But it didn't really go that way. I still think Cade doesn't get the whistles when he goes to the rim like some of the other star players do. That's why he got that tee, because he was arguing about that foul that he got when he took it to the hole. But he doesn't also sell the calls like some of the players do, and so probably something he's going to have to learn. But I do think as much as the officials are infuriating, and as much as I will yell at them through my TV screen and get frustrated, and I've shared with you my experience as a coach and some of the problems I've had with officials and how I've learned to finesse the officials over the years and just don't get technical fouls anymore. I think at some point the Pistons, the players, the coaches, we have to start picking our battles. We argue with the refs non-stop, and I'm certain that they get tired of hearing it. And if I thought it was helping us, like if I thought all of the arguing was helping us get more calls, then I'm like, okay. But I think it's actually hindering us from getting some more calls. And it's even gotten to the point where Cade is really arguing with the refs a lot. And, I mean, you saw that play where Cade got his technical. I mean, you had 3 coaches up from the bench yelling. You had Cade yelling. And I think the refs just get tired of it. And it's every single time. The hands go up. They look over at the coach. They're doing this. They're arguing with the refs. And I think we just have to learn to pick our battles. We have to learn when it's time to really get adamant and get loud, and when it's time to just let the game be. And so to me, I would love to see our team show a little bit more maturity in when we decide to argue and when we don't. I'm not saying never argue with the refs, and I certainly don't think the refs are right all the time, or sometimes not even a lot sometimes, but I just think we have to learn when to pick the battles. And so I would like to see some growth for us in 2026, is just saying, like, hey, Asar was quoted at halftime saying, we have to lock in and not worry about the refs. He said, we got to stop fouling so much. So it's the right thing to say, and I agree. At some time, we just have to lock into the game and what we're doing and not let the refs affect us so much. But let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. I know the refs are absolutely frustrating and infuriating, but I think it's not helping us as much as we're arguing. I think it's actually playing against us. And then I don't know if you saw this, but ESPN just put out their MVP ladder, their MVP race. They do it a couple times a year, and there's been other ones by Bleacher Report and other. But this is ESPN's first one of the season, and they actually have Cade listed at number 3 in their rankings. They have Jokic at 1, Shea at 2, Cade at 3, Luka at 4, and Jalen Brunson at 5. And it's a great list. I think Cade, as I've said before, definitely should be in the conversation. Is he above Jokic and Shea right now? I don't think so. I think those guys obviously are extremely valuable players to their teams and to the league. But Cade's on the come up, right? And I do think Cade and Jalen Brunson are right there. But I think Cade affects winning with his squad. He's doing more with less. And Jalen Brunson is a phenomenal scorer. Definitely not as good of a defender as Cade. Definitely not as good of a passer as Cade. But he's a better shooter, and he's probably a little bit better of a scorer, more consistent scorer. But I think overall, who impacts their team more, I think you got to give it to Cade, because again, Cade is doing more with less. But they got Luka at number 4, which after watching Luka tonight, and I think a guy that doesn't play defense cannot be on the list for MVP. That's my opinion. Obviously, he impacts the Lakers. The Lakers were off to a great start. They're going through a bit of a struggle right now. I think Austin Reeves really helps them. And honestly, I think LeBron's hurting them. At this point in his career, I think he's actually hurting the team. So what are your thoughts? I mean, does anyone out there think Cade should be higher than 3? I think I was pretty excited to see that. I think that's fair. Again, I think people could make an argument that he could be 4 or even 5. But I think he's certainly in the top 5. I saw somebody with Pistons Talk say that Cade is the best American player in the league right now, and it's not close. And I don't want to say that it's not close. You have some other good American players that are, definitely better than Cade right now. But, man, you give him a couple more years, and Cade's going to be really he's the future, I think, of the league, and just a great player. Love that he's on our team. So let me know your thoughts about that. And then let's round off tonight's episode with a little talk about Tobias. So Tobias obviously got hurt in the first quarter. Didn't come back. Hope he's okay. I don't really know what the injury is, honestly. But I actually had planned to talk about this already today. But I think that the Pistons actually play better, especially certain lineups play better without Tobias. And I don't want to just say things. I want to be able to back them up. Now, listen, I'll qualify it by saying I'm a big Tobias fan. I do like him. I really liked him when he played on the Pistons the first time. I was bummed out when we traded him. I was glad when he came back, and I think he's done a lot for our team in terms of culture and maturity and presence and veteran presence. And I still would like to see him be a Piston, but I think he's going to have to take a lesser role, and I don't know that he's willing to do that. I've never talked to him about it, so I don't know. But he actually has the lowest net rating of all of our players, of all the starters, or actually of all of our players on the team. We're statistically 9 points better when he's off the court, and we're 9 points better when he's not playing. And I think we saw that tonight. Without him there, we just play better basketball. And I don't really have all the reasons why. He's not a great three-point shooter. He'll have games where he'll be really, really good on offense, and he'll have games where he kills us. Defensively, he's not able to guard a lot of those stretch fours. We saw that against Markkanen, and we saw that against he actually ended up having to guard Kawhi quite a bit the other night because Cade being in foul trouble. And we saw that last year against Cat. Like, he's not a great defender. He's 15 years in the league, right? You can only ask so much of him. This isn't necessarily a criticism of him. But like I said earlier, Father Time is undefeated, and Tobias is getting up there. And so in terms of net rating, Tobias is actually last on the team. So our first is Cade, our first is Jalen Duren, then Cade Cunningham, and then number 3 is Jaden Ivey. As far as net rating goes, Jaden Ivey is number 3. So we got to stop. We got to continue to let Jaden Ivey develop. But I get a little the Jaden Ivey hate gets a little old in terms of net rating. He's up there. Karis LeVert, who we trash on a lot, he's number 9. But Tobias is last. And so, again, do I think there's a place on the team for him? Yes. I think him being part of that second unit is a good idea. Like I said from the beginning, I love the idea of a starting lineup that is Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Asar Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, and Jalen Duren. I love that. As a second unit, we have a lot of options, but Tobias maybe leading that second unit. But that might be tough because that second unit is young and they're fast, and maybe it doesn't fit. So I don't know. Maybe Tobias has to become part of this trade piece that we use. I think Tobias, Karis LeVert, those are guys that I think I'm willing to give up. But what are your guys' thoughts? Where are we at with Tobias? It's tough because as a fan, I love Tobias, but as a coach, I'm like, no, he's just not really getting it done. Statistically, he's not getting it done. We give up a lot with him on the court, especially with that starting lineup. And so I think it's time for us to really think through what is next for Tobias. Is it a bench role? Is it trading him? Let me know your thoughts. So that's all I got for you guys today. Happy New Year's Eve. I hope you guys have big plans. Tonight we are just going to kind of low-key play some games. Our little city here has a little ball drop, so we might go down and watch the ball drop. But let me know in the comments what your New Year's plans are, your New Year's goals. Tomorrow on the episode, I'm probably going to share with you some of my New Year's goals. And I shared already some of the things I'd love to see happen with our Detroit Pistons in 2026. But overall, a great year, exciting year, a good way to close the chapter of 2025. Tomorrow I'm also going to do a little 2025 year in review of the Pistons. So let me know your thoughts about the win last night. Let me know your thoughts about us arguing with the refs. Is it too much? Is it hurting us? Give me your opinions about Cade. No trade talks today, so happy about that. I'm sure we'll have some more hitting the news tomorrow, as we do almost every day. And then let me know your thoughts about Tobias. So, again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, share this podcast, hit the notification bell, do all the things. And as always, Detroit basketball. Let's go, baby.